What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I actually wanted to change things up, and what we're going to do is we're going to go over my top penny stock swing trades. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go inside of my account, and we're going to find the top 5 stocks that I have made the most money on. Now, some of these have been a couple trades over the course of the past couple months. It's actually been 10 months since I started this account here, and here we are inside my account, and we can take a look at what is going on. So what do we see right at the top? We see an overall P&L percentage over the past, this is the past 1 year, but really I haven't been trading for a year. It's been about 10 months. 603%, almost 604%. So that is what I have been able to make in terms of profit. So if you think about the average return of like the S&P 500 or the average return, on long-term investing and things like that, if you're someone who wants to invest long-term, you're probably going to average a return of like 5 to 15% per year, somewhere in there, maybe like 10% on average, and that's pretty good. If you can do double-digit percentage on average, that's pretty good, and that's going to grow your money long-term. And think about the compound effect, especially if you start investing from a young age. But what I think is pretty cool is the long-term effect of potentially doing something like a 600% return over a consistent time period for many years. That is a pretty cool long-term compounding effect. And I don't know if we'll be able to keep up that percentage. I think I can certainly do better than that, especially as I gain more experience, and I think I can totally do it. But I think that's a pretty impressive number, at least for me right now. I'm pretty happy with that number. So what do we see first? We see these stocks on the right-hand side. So we're going to take a look at the top 5 here. Some of these towards the bottom actually get pretty close in terms of what I've actually been able to make with some of these stocks, but the top 5 are going to be pretty cool to go over, and we'll go over the charts, we'll go over why I made the trade, how I made the trade, and all that. So let's jump in, guys, and this is now my Webull account. So what does that mean? Why is that cool? Well, I really like Webull and I recommend it, as you can always get 2 free stocks with the links in the description and the pinned comment of all my videos. Check out that link. You deposit $100, you get 2 free stocks up to $1,400 in value. That won't be around forever. And so that's what I did when I signed up, and it was pretty cool. I got some free stocks, and that really kickstarted my account, and I was able to kind of, have a couple extra dollars of buying power when I originally started this account with $300. So some of these trades actually will be from a while back, and some of these trades, if I was to make these types of trades right now in terms of percentage gain with a larger position size as my account's grown, yeah, I would make a lot more money, and we'll start to see some trades make some more money. But what I want to show you guys, and I think is really cool, is that there's a lot of stocks on here. Okay, we can scroll this down for a while. Okay, now I have some red, but there's a lot of stocks on here in the green. And so what does that tell you? What does that tell me, right? That tells me that I have not just been doing this and gotten lucky off of 2 or 3 trades. This is a consistent effort across my account. So if we look at the overall profit and loss, right? So we're positive over $7,000 in profit on this account. So what does that actually mean when I started this account from a couple $100? Well, it's actually because I've been adding to this account. I've been getting some free stocks that somewhat bolster the account a little bit. And I've been also adding some of my own money. Not as much as of late because I've kind of just been letting it compound with, my own profits and stuff. But early on, I was, a couple $100 here if I had it, $1,000 here if I had it. But, over the course of the time period, $7,000 in profits. Okay, so it's not like I made this account go from 300 to 15,000 without any, additional money coming in. It's 7,000 in profits. Okay, let's take a look at the first stock here, COCP, stock that I've actually made the most money with, and I'm actually in COCP yet again at the time I'm filming this video. Please, guys, when you see this video, if I'm in a certain stock, please understand that when I'm filming this video, it may be different. So if you're not subscribed and getting my top penny stock to buy videos when they come out, make sure you are subscribed, hit the bell notification so you don't miss when those videos come out, because that is going to be up-to-date current information on what I'm in and what I'm liking right now and what I'm looking for, okay? So COCP, it's an interesting stock because this stock was down here trading under 50 cents. This is a stock that I want to call a virus play. And so what does that actually mean? When we had the outbreak of the virus a few months ago, this is a stock that really, caught on with news of that, of what they're doing in research and looking for cures and treatments. And this is a stock that pretty much came right into the play and it made some big moves. And so the reason why I'm playing it yet again is because as we've been seeing some resurgence of cases and things like that, pretty much it's been, it's been known as of the past couple months is that they had some news, and that news spiked this stock from under 50 cents to over $2. And so I was a part of this ride early on for a little bit. Now, did I capture this entire move? No, but I was a part of this ride, and I actually had myself in a position down in here when this happened. Now, this is really cool because this is one of like the first stocks that I really saw like, wow, what does this news thing, what does this penny stock news thing mean? And so really what it's allowed me to do is it opened my eyes at the time to how this stuff works. And when I was back here, guys, we're talking about being back in like February. So my account size back in February was not very large. We can even go back and take a look. So if I go back to my positions or my home page and we go back to February, this is pretty crazy. We go back here, we're talking about, we're in here into the new year, into 2020. The account size, a little over 2,000. So we're talking about an account that was actually under 2,000, just crossing that $2,000 threshold back in February. And so that is absolutely crazy how, I was able to start off with a couple $100 gain on that play. And then now I've played it again recently. So take a look at some of these spikes. I was back in here. I've been kind of playing these ups and downs as we are making higher lows. And I'm going to be grabbing it on the lows and selling on the highs. But again, I'm back in with an average here right under $2, looking for a move back to 3, and they actually hit $4 in pre-market one of these days. And so that's what I'm looking forward to, at least with COCP at the time I'm filming this video. But where was the bulk of the money made? Well, a good chunk was made here, and then I made a good chunk on this spike right here because I was in COCP riding it up from probably back down here around 150. I think I had a 125 average, to be honest, just a few weeks ago, and I've been riding this guy on up as of late. And so that's where it's made me some more money lately, but I did make a couple $100 on this initial spike when it had its news back in February. The next stock here is EYES, eyes, I guess you could say. So here's a stock that I actually think it was this was a fun trade. So let's go back here and let's see what we got with EYES. And so this stock, if we take a peek at what was going on, we were oversold. Now you guys will start to see, if you're new here to the channel, if you're new to these videos and whatnot, eyes is probably back not to a terrible buy spot, to be honest, right now. But I'm looking for stocks that are oversold. I'm looking for the bottoms. I'm looking for the supports. And why? Because it really provides a low risk and high reward potential. And eyes is a perfect example of that. Why is that the case? Well, here's where I made my most money on EYES. I actually made a few dollars back over here, but not too much. The big trade that I made was down here. So we had come down. So here's the chart, right? Here's the daily chart that we're looking at, and I'm using Heikin-Ashi candles. That's just my style. It gives you a better, more of like a trend kind of look, okay? So we had come down to about 71 cents, okay, and then bounced up to 250. Okay, and then guess what? We came back down and we were down under $1. And so what I did was I grabbed an average. I had an average of under $1. And so with that average under $1, we started making some moves to the upside, and then we had a day where it popped to about 135, and then we had another day the next day where it actually opened up the next day pre-market, because this is not going to show you guys pre-market when we're looking at the daily chart. You want to zoom into like the 4-hour chart or the 2-hour chart, and that'll show you what you're looking at in terms of pre-market. So here it is. So when I'm saying we hit a high of 231, so this stock was kind of down at this trend line, and then boom, we hit up a mass, and guess what? There wasn't even news. This wasn't like a news play where it got good news, a good press release, and launched. This was no news. This was just a bounce. And this was a crazy play because I made sure to hold a good chunk of shares well over. I woke up one morning pre-market and it had just launched, and I had some orders ready to sell, and I even just sold some more once it hit over $2, and I was like, this is a crazy trade. And so that is really what did it for me with EYES. And I made some more money down here, and I just sold back out of it recently. It's not actually at a terrible buy spot at the time I'm filming this video yet again, but what was the key with this play was it was really just a bounce off this trend line. We kind of came down to this area. We kind of came down under $1. Under $1 was a good buy-in, and then really just selling it over $1, but really riding that momentum up. And we got some buying volume, we got some momentum, and I just rode that momentum up and scaled out along the way. Next stock here is KTOV. This is going to be a fun one because if you guys have been in the game a little bit, you probably have some experience with KTOV. It's pretty crazy. And the funny thing that I want to say is that, see this spike as of late, I was not a part of this spike. I made my money on KTOV back in here. Now see what I have a couple lines drawn in. This is what's really cool about KTOV. So this is a stock that came down to 22 cents, and then it started this uptrend line. This uptrend developed right here. But what I was noticing was that we couldn't really break out of this area right here, which was about 40 cents. So we were kind of trading in a range between 22 cents and 40 cents, developing higher lows, developing an uptrend. And so what did I start to do was I start to grab a position. I sold some up here, and then I was starting to grab some more back, and I would just, I held a core position of a couple hundred shares, but then I was just a couple hundred shares also, I was just buying and selling on these pops and drops. And then the idea was if we break through this 40-cent resistance, that's what I was looking for in terms of a breakout, and that's what I wanted to hold my core position for. Now on top of that, we also have this blue line, the 50 SMA, and generally when you are below the 50 SMA, it acts as an area of resistance. When you're above, support. How does that shown here? And this is what I love to play. If you guys watch my videos about what I'm playing, I love these setups where we bounce off the 50 SMA. But guess what? We were below it, so we broke through. When we broke through, we made a pretty decent move up to about 40 to 50 cents. That was also made some money there. Came back down. I believe there was an offering or something like that. Came back down. The offering brought us directly to the trend line. So I said, hey, we just broke out, but now we right back down to the trend line, which was this little red candle right in here. And then guess what? I bought back in and I rode it up the next couple of days right back up to over 50 cents. And then I think I sold out and I didn't even really ride this one up too much. And then I had this just completely missed. I wasn't paying attention to it at the time. Could have played another bounce off of 50 SMA, but I still made plenty of money off of these little pops and drops and then really holding for a little bit of a bigger move. But if we think about it, if you're going to be in from 35 cents and you're going to make, and sell at 50 cents, that's a significant percentage profit. And that's what I was totally good with in terms of taking my money and saying, hey, I made some good money on this play. I'm not going to get greedy. I'm going to take my profit here and move on to the next one. The next best trade here is actually NTZ. This is a recent trade, and I really want to talk about NTZ because this is a cool one. It's not really a super crazy trade. Here's the idea behind this trade, and this is what it was. It was up right here. So let's actually go back to the past. Let's look at a 2-hour chart. So each of these candles is 2 hours. So NTZ is a stock that they essentially had to regain compliance to stay listed or to stay. I believe they're still in the process. I'm not sure. I actually haven't checked back in lately because I made my money and I move on. That's kind of what I like to do. It's just, move on to the next one. And let's not, I'm not going to get caught up in these stocks. I don't care what's going to happen. Once I exit, I don't care anymore. I'll reassess later on if I want to get back in. But that's how I do it. So this stock, they had to essentially regain compliance to stay listed. And so what did that mean? They had to get their market cap to a certain level and their actual trading price had to be over like $1, had to be over a certain level by a certain date. So I said, okay, well, if that's what's required for them to stay listed, and they've been listed for many years, well, why would they not get there? Why would they not make an effort to get there? And so guess what? It just so happens that they released some news. This is a super low float stock. So what does that actually mean? That means there's only a certain amount of shares. There's not many shares available to be traded by the public. And so what does that allow? Well, if there's a small quantity of shares, a low supply, that stock can move pretty quick based off of some orders and based off of some buying pressure, right? Or selling pressure, right? So that means they're going to have some volatility. And look what happened. So it just so happened that they announced news. This stock goes from about $1 to $1.80 right away. Boom. Okay, and then immediately after that, it goes to $3.15. Insane run, but guess what? I had a good chunk of shares. I had a couple hundred shares, and then I rode this guy up, and I sold 100 shares every like 25 or 50 cents on the way up. And that's what I did because I knew they had to get this stock to a certain level. And so what did that tell me? That tell me, hey, there may be some news coming in order to get some attention towards this stock so that they can hit those compliance requirements. And that was the trade. It was an awesome trade. It was a news trade. And these are the type of trades I love when you're going over 100%, over 150% in literally a matter of minutes. And that was crazy with NTZ. And that's pretty much what happened. And that about sums up the NTZ trade right there. And last but not least, AIKI is the other trade that I want to talk about. This one's a fun one because, we can really see, this is a trade that I made a couple months ago, and this is really going to be cool. Let's go look at the daily chart again, and we'll see where it was. This was it. It was it right here. So if we go back and take a look at AIKI, over the past, months, right, really the past year, we see some of these spikes. And so this is really cool. When you see these spikes like this, what does that tell you? Well, that tells you that, this stock has potential, has released news in the past, and it has spiked up. And so when you see a previous history of spikes, honestly, we may be setting up for something right around now, I think, is something that's certainly possible. But when you see a previous history of these spikes, that's a good sign for a swing trader, because when we talk about swing trading penny stocks, what I look for, I don't look for a sustained move generally over a course of a period of time. I'm looking to get in super low and sell on these spikes or sell on these pops. And that's the name of the game. And I was actually in down here around 50 cents at a 50 cents or so, maybe it was a 60-cent average or so. And we got this news, and this stock went well over $2 in a matter of minutes. Again, similar to other plays, because it had news. And this news was actually, I believe, related to the virus. And so, hot topic at the time, but related to the virus. And this stock spiked up tremendously in just a few minutes. And this is another play that I think that was absolutely insane, because I had sold out too early. I sold most of my shares. I was done. I was all out by 150. The stock went over 250. That's insane to me, because I could have made a significantly larger amount of money. And back in the time, though, this is back in April, so my account, again, is not where it is right now. It was probably at a couple $1,000s, but it wasn't where it's at right now. But still, I was able to make a couple $100 on this play, because, in a matter of minutes, it went from 60 cents to over $1 and then over $2, minutes later. And so that was a crazy play for AIKI. And the idea here behind that is that it may look to be a potential play again, because, we're just kind of consolidating. We're moving up a little bit, but we're really consolidating, and we haven't had a spike in a while. So it may not be a terrible play for me to look to re-enter again, as I think another news play or some more news could be due. And that could certainly spike this stock up again, because we have history and previous history of these spikes. So hopefully that was cool. That wraps up my top 5 penny stock swing trades. And what you guys can kind of see is I'm looking for those low risk, high reward, getting in low, getting in towards the bottom, and selling in anticipation of news like NTZ. And not sometimes you don't anticipate the news, but you kind of just have to put yourself in a position for a stock that may have news, or you can do a lot more DD into finding, hey, they have results from this clinical trial or from these clinical trials that should be due soon. Now there's no guarantee that news is going to be good, but you can kind of start to see and look through some filings, look through some past press releases, and start to see, hey, this stock may have news soon, or, and look at the past chart spikeability. And that's kind of what I'm doing here when it comes to penny stocks. So if you guys are not subscribed, you're still watching, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss the videos that I'm going over every single week, at least once, where I'm talking about the stocks that I am in. And I discuss kind of why I'm in those stocks. I discuss, what I'm thinking about, the potential, and if there's news, if it's just kind of a chart play, things like that. So that is that. Also, if you guys want to get access to the group I'm part of, it's not my own group. I actually pay for it. It's linked down below as Prosperity Trading. That's where I've gotten early on. That's where I've gotten a lot of my plays from. And then really it's kind of turned me into the trader that I am now, where I'm able to kind of be self-sufficient and find my own place. And so it took me about 10 months or about 8 or 9 months to get there, but it's been awesome. And so that is linked down below. Again, Webull, 2 free stocks. That's what we're looking at. That's a platform we just went over. 2 free stocks when you deposit $100, and you get 2 stocks in a value up to $1,400. So highly recommend you take advantage of that while you can. And with that being said, guys, appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you in the next video.